This is our 29th Thought Leadership event and mapping the landscape of optometric education in Sub-Saharan Africa.
So now we have our opening and welcome from Dr. Bernadine Ekpenyong.
Thank you very much. So I'd like to thank you all for joining us today. I'm delighted to welcome you all to this meeting on mapping the landscape of optometry education in Sub-Saharan Africa to contribute to shaping the future strategies to optometry education based on evidence-based research conducted by CEPHII. So I would like to welcome the Western Sydney University team, always been there for us, all our collaborators, peers, educators, all professional associations here present, the students, the registration boards, policymakers are all present here. We'd like to welcome you all. We appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to be here. We have a productive agenda ahead and look forward to your valuable insights and collaboration. So CEPHII identified the need for collaborative research by bringing together African researchers in the diaspora as well as in the continent to build capacity and also to develop broad research agenda. So CEPHII is made up of researchers from both the diaspora and in the African continent. The next slide shows the members of CEPHII. So this is a headshot of some members of CEPHII across Africa, some in the US, some in Australia, some in Nigeria, South Africa, Ghana. And also we'd like to welcome you all. Let us work together to make this session engaging and successful. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Ekpenyong. We now have some goodwill remarks from Dr. Naomi Nsubuga and Professor Percy Mashige.
Yes, hello, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Yeah, I'm Naomi Nsubuga. I'm optometrist and lecturer at Makerere University. I'm also the head of department for the Department of Allied Health Sciences. I would like to welcome you all to the this wonderful and very important discussion that we're going to have as we plan for the future of optometry training in Africa. Thank you.
Good day, esteemed colleagues. I am Professor Katuchero Percy Mashige, the current Dean of the School of Health Sciences at the University of KwaZulu-Natal and Chairperson of the Education, Training and Regulatory Committee of the Professional Board for Optometry and Dispensing Optician in South Africa. I would like to briefly share key insights on the vital role of regulatory bodies in our profession and how you as educators can actively contribute to their establishment and advancement. Optometry educators occupy a strategic and influential position in shaping the future of the profession. As custodians of the academic excellence and thought leadership, you are uniquely positioned to advance for the establishment of a dedicated regulatory body for optometry, one that safeguards educational integrity, ensures alignment with national healthcare priorities, and upholds standards of professional practice. A regulatory body is therefore essential to ensure that optometry education is responsive to the evolving needs of the population and aligned with broader health policies. By engaging in curricular development that reflects local disease patterns, public health challenges, and technological advancement, educators like you contribute directly to building a workforce that is both competent and contextually relevant. Furthermore, a dedicated regulatory authority will serve as a critical mechanism to accredit training programs, define scope of practice, and promote continuous professional development. This ensures that graduates enter the health system with the knowledge, skills, and ethical grounding required to provide quality care. Optometry educators must therefore champion this cause, not only to strengthen professional standards, but also to ensure the profession's sustainability, accountability, and contribution to universal eye health. Through unified advocacy, you can drive policy reform, support regulation rooted in best practices, and elevate the profession within the broader health sector. Thank you.
Godwin Ovenseri is my name. I work with the University of the Islands and Islands in the UK. I'll just quickly run through this, and just a quick caveat about my presentation. Because of the limited time, I'm not going to go through everything on the slide, and we imagine that this paper that reported what we're going to be discussing today is been published and sent out to at least most of us on this course, so you can have all the details from that slide. Next slide, please. So by way of introduction, sometime last year, towards the end of 2023, we got a call from Clinical and Experimental Optometry to do, for a special education issue, to do a paper looking at the optometric landscape in Africa. And so we set out to do that from CEPHII. And when we started, we noted that the optometry program started in 1930 in South Africa. A whole lot has happened over the time. So what we set out to do was to provide a comprehensive overview of optometric education in Sub-Saharan Africa, looking at the status, the challenges and opportunities, and how to move that forward. And just to interject that, so the purpose of this presentation today is not just to do research for the sake of research, but to do research for the sake of changing practice, of informing, and then of course promoting, society and enhancing what we do as educators. Next slide, please. So we set out to investigate that, and we sent out, we designed a form to collect information from different optometry programs. And out of the 39 schools that we sent this file to be completed, we got responses from 32, representing 12 countries across Sub-Saharan Africa. Next slide, please. And so what some of the information we collected, we looked at growth of optometry schools, student enrollment, curriculum and staffing, technological issues, as well as professional regulatory challenges facing optometry education and optometry program across Africa. And so in terms of growth, now, like I said, optometry education started in Africa in 1930 in South Africa. But of the 32 schools that we sampled, we realized that 75% of that were established since post-2000. And that indicated a growth in the need for optometric health workforce. And of course, we also noted that 40% of all of those schools that established post-2000 were established in Nigeria. And of course, we have student enrollment ranging from 50 in Zimbabwe to about 3,945 in Nigeria. And in terms of student enrollment, the number also vary from one country to the other. And as you can see from that slide, and that also relates to the number of graduates. Nigeria also, again, having the highest number of graduates and the highest number of enrollees, enrolled students. So in terms of curriculum, another thing that came out strongly was the fact that although representing the diversity in so many things in Africa, and again, we cannot use one, it's not a one-shoe-fit-all thing. We also noted that in terms of the length of program, we have program ranging from 3-year BSc to 6-year OD program. And then some countries, for example, Ghana, Nigeria, South Africa, also offer postgraduate training. And all of these programs also have some variation in terms of the curriculum and the content of the curriculum. And this slide shows us the curriculum, the staffing, and again, shows us that in spite of this increase in number of schools, at least since post 2000, there's also the problem of staffing. And what we have here is a staff to student ratio, which of course paints a picture that there is need for more staffing for our optometry program in Africa. Now, one of the things we also looked at, apart from just the optometric side of things, was also look at the regulatory landscape across the price of optometry in Sub-Saharan Africa. And one thing that came so strongly is that one, in some countries there is no regulation of optometry, so you're trained and so you just go on and practice. And of course, like Professor Mashige mentioned in his Goodwin message, there's need to match education with regulation to enhance, to safeguard the health, the eye care of our citizens. And we also notice that in some countries also, optometry is not integrated into national healthcare system. And so you see optometry practicing in standalone high street practices, but they are not incorporated into the national healthcare system. And so that tends to limit the growth of the profession. And in limiting the growth of the profession, it also impacts on service provision insofar as services are not provided through the public national healthcare system. So these are some of the challenges. So if you look at the slides here, there are a whole number of challenges, but these five kind of stood out in what we did. The inadequately qualified academic staff. Now, this is not to say that we don't have qualified optometrists as lecturers, but we're looking at in terms of academics who have acquired additional qualifications, say masters and PhD, that will put them at that level of providing quality evidence-based education. And then the low staff student ratio that I've mentioned, then the lack of government regulation. Now also looked at the use of learning management systems to provide an access to education from remote areas, and then how this is integrated into optometric education as it is in other developed countries. So what are the implications of this result? One, there's need to address workforce shortages in Africa. And in doing that, there's also the need to enhance, one, the quality and the number of opportunities that are trained in the continent. And there's also need to for investment in resources. For example, like I mentioned, the LMS. Now, I'm sure some of us can, attest to this, that eye care is usually not given that pride of place in general national healthcare system. And that also impacts on the resources available for training of optometrists across the different countries. And there's also need for collaboration and knowledge sharing amongst the different countries. And back to the variation in the curriculum, that also impacts on providing standardization and regulation of optometry, and of course cross-border migration of optometry from one part of Africa to another, not just for the sake of practice, but for the purpose of probably going to obtain maybe higher qualifications. Say, for example, I want to move from Kenya to Ghana to do a PhD. If the standard of that base of the training is not uniform, then that migration to acquire additional training will be impacted. Next slide, please. Now, one of the things that came up as in terms of challenge for us while we're doing this study was the challenges of data collection. Now, I didn't go into the methodology we use in collecting data. One of the things we found out that some of this information we're looking for were not readily available, and so which is one of the core things that we want this meeting today to address, in how to, as optometric education, as optometric training institutions, to have a repository of data, of information, say for example, the graduate level, where they are at, the number of staff and all of that. So we need that information. Workforce mobility, I already highlighted that. And then the standardized competencies for optoms across the region. Now, if the curriculum is not uniform, then it's also be difficult to have standardized competencies that aligns with the WCO and WHO competencies for optometrists. Next slide, please. So final words. Now, like we noted, optometry education over the last 25 years has expanded. And so why this expansion is such a positive step, it also creates room for some potential challenges. For example, regulatory framework for, to enhance the policy direction that would, position the trade of optometrists that aligns with eye healthcare needs of the different countries and, of course, the continent. Then the need for regional collaboration that can reduce the burden of visual impairment. Next slide. So the future direction and what we're going to be looking at is focus on standardized outcomes and competencies, greater integration of technological resources. Of course, we know everything is going high tech now, so that also needs to be reflected in our training, optometric training, not just in terms of equipment for clinical practice, but technology that gives access to education, where you can be at home and have access to webinars and that are of high quality to enhance, the training of optometrists across the sub-region. And of course, policy development that can enhance workforce and meet eye care demands. Next slide, please. So for the paper, like I said, the paper is available. You can click on this link and it's available for free download online. And so these are the authors of the paper. And on that note, I say thank you. Next slide. So that's thank you from me, and you can pick your any of the thank you that matches your language from the slide. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Godwin, for that elaborate discussion. I mean, this is a collaboration across 32 different institutions, 20 authors plus being involved in this. So it's a large work with a very collaborative effort. And thanks to everybody who volunteered to be part of this. And Godwin identified from his speech that there are 4 main things that we picked up here from that paper. One of them is inadequately qualified academic staff was something that came very strongly from the data that we published. The low staff to student ratio was another big takeaway. There's also lack of government recognition and regulation for so many optometry schools in Sub-Saharan Africa. There's also the inconsistent use of learning management system that we saw. In fact, some schools, nothing of that sort existed as well. So these are some of the things that will lead us into the next discussion phase that we are going to have now. So I want to just quickly thank everybody who has spoken before now and to welcome Andrew Wekesa, a good friend of mine from Masinde Muliro University of Science and Technology, who has been doing great work in Kenya and is here to lead us into that panel discussion. And I welcome you, Andrew. It's your stage now. Thank you.
Thank you, Levi, and thank you, everybody, for making time to join this webinar. I hope I'm clear enough. I will just quickly just give a recap of that exactly the paper that is involved, where I was part of this paper in terms of contributing some of the content from Kenya. And we, as Levi has just given us sneak through of some of the challenges that we are encountering into this, some of the outcomes that came out in this paper, that's now giving us an agenda of discussion onto this. So we have the panelists with me. The first panelist is Professor Kovin Naidoo. And I know most of the people know Professor Kovin Naidoo. The other person is Dr. Bernadine, then Dr. Daniel. Then we have, we'll also get some perspective from the student perspective from Afele Madikize. Then our other colleagues, Dr. Zora Pito and Wani. Then finally, on the we have Dr. Naomi Nsubuga. So I think I will just quickly go ahead and probably during the presentation, they might give a brief give bio of themselves before maybe they give us answer. We have the first question that we want just to post so that we can get some of the feedback of some of the challenges that we have encountered. We have experienced that we have few staffs, and most of the staffs, maybe they might be engaging themselves in teaching, and even doing research can be a problem. So maybe I want just to give a chance, Professor Kovin Naidoo, who has had a very wide experience in terms of data collections and presentation and even dissemination in different parts of this country, to see in which maybe it can just give us in light of the implication of this research that we have given us. What are some of the things or some of the drawbacks, the challenges that people or staffs or researchers encounter in terms of data collection, planning, and even if they can do dissemination, if they do change policy or not in eye health services in Africa. So Professor Kovin, maybe if you have some of the personal experiences on this, some of the challenges, please, maybe the floor is yours for you to give us some of those insights. Welcome, Professor.
Thank you very much. I think let me start by saying that the purpose of the study initially when at the CEPHII level, when we were having a discussion about the type of studies that we engage in, and this was one of our priorities, is mainly because of the lack of information. And you cannot plan or determine where you want to go if you don't know where you are. And that's been a major challenge across the board. I will argue that overall, in terms of the data, getting data on Africa has gotten worse. 10 years ago, most of the major non-profit organizations operating on the continent were funding significant research. Much of that funding is dried up. Some of the scientific research was funded through partnerships with foreign institutions, particularly U.S. partners, and we all know what the impact of the Trump changes are. And we're seeing that happen quite significantly. Many researchers developed programs for USAID, which all had a research component, and the only way we could get the funding was to do that. And even when the School of Optometry was set up in Mozambique, and I remember writing that proposal initially and approaching the Irish institution in Dublin to fund us, we had to reframe the whole thing as a research and service delivery project in order to get that money, which eventually ended up with the School of Optometry in Mozambique, which all of you are aware of at Unilorio. So this has been a challenge for us overall on the continent. But let's start with the health system part. We have a lack of standardized indicators. Beside cataract surgical rate, there is a huge challenge on the continent where countries don't collect proper data on the other conditions. Why cataract surgical rate? Because often ministers of health have to go to the World Health Assembly and report back on that. However, the positive outcome is that more recently with the refractive error, the SPECS 2030 initiative, now refractive error data is being collected, but most governments don't know what to collect, how to collect that, and don't have the capacity to do that. And there's also inadequate health information systems. We have data collected at various levels in healthcare systems across Africa in various countries, but they're not integrated. Some countries have decent health information management systems, while others don't. But one of the big problems is a lot of data is collected, but this data is never ever packaged and used in a way that informs strategy. Okay, in the sense that having been involved with many national planning processes across the continent, that the cataract surgical rate, for example, gets collected, but that leads to only talking about ophthalmology and not talking about an integrated eye health team, right? So in the same way, let's go to the issue of education. There is poor projections of the amount of optometrists that are coming out. We don't have that data. We're not projecting, and this is a start, and that's why we did the study. We cannot show how optometrists can actually fit into this. But we have many of our people advocating to government for optometry, and we get a pushback that says, government, your data doesn't match. You can't meet our needs. So we do have a disjuncture also in terms of the policies we ask for and the trajectory of the outcomes from these various institutions. We need to know exactly how many we have graduating. We need to have a plan to increase the numbers that are coming out, and we need a plan to show how those numbers in our countries can be integrated into the broader health system. And the question of technology came up in the study. We got to be flexible about integrating technology to reach needs. If not, we're not going to be able to influence policy making, because we are often raising issues around policy without having the appropriate information. I've run out of time. I can contribute further going in the process. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof. And we have gotten a very good insight. But perhaps maybe Dr. Naidoo, maybe you might have something concerning the data that is collected. Sometimes in different countries, we have data collected by optometrists and different data collected by ophthalmologists that are given a high a preference, maybe based on the cadre that is collecting this data. Does the data collected different people from different countries inform policy compared to maybe other data that is collected by optometry or ophthalmology? So on optometry education, we have had different strategies that has been informed. Maybe what are some of the, I want just to post this question to Professor Yamu, who has had a rich experience in terms of regulations and even practice. That what are some of the strategies, reforms that should optometry education institution implement to increase accessibility for undeserved regions and marginalized population across Sub-Saharan Africa. Professor Young?
First of all, the rural area, underserved area, they are very, very much underserved. So what we normally do is that during the course of our programs, we get our students to be involved in community health services. Where we take them down to do rotation in those communities and to, to carry out screening, and then how we can enlighten the community on eye care. And periodically, we send our students there to visit all those rural communities where they can be informed about the goings on, about those conditions that can cause visual debilitation in those rural regions. And it's not easy because most of our roads are bad. So we take turn, hire vehicles, we encourage the students, and from time to time their community optometric service, they visit those areas to see what they can do, to assess optometric services. In terms of optometric education within the region, I would say that Nigeria, we are trying, in the sense that we know the low manpower that we have, that low staffing in almost all the universities, and recently there's a big problem that bedeviled the optometric education in Nigeria, and that has to do with Japa syndrome. Japa syndrome means where people just carry their properties, carry their family, and then relocate to UK, relocate to Canada, relocate to United States for better life. So most of our institutions now are really facing much difficulties because the low student investigation, to me, was high compared to what we're experiencing now, because we are really experiencing a lot of problems in terms of staffing. They're very, very low staff to student ratio, and the optometric education in Nigeria for now, we need help.
Thank you, Prof. I think it's a challenge everywhere in rural areas. In most cases, we have what you call view once. You only visit that one place, and it takes time for you to help. Maybe I would like just to get more insight from a partnership and academic exchange from Dr. Naomi. Dr. Naomi, we have had what we call regional partnership and academic exchange across the border in terms of how accreditation system play in scale up accessibility of high education or high optometry education across this continent. Maybe do you have some insights? Maybe you can give us some of the things that we might have missed in this, despite the fact of partnership and exchange into these education optometry programs across this continent. Dr. Naomi.
Yeah, thank you so much. The partnerships and collaborations are actually very, very important, and they help to beef up and offer support to a growing optometry program. We have issues of faculty, challenges of faculty. We don't have enough, the ratio is so poor. So, and also different experiences for the students. So you need to kind of establish some kind of collaborations or twinnings. So for example, in Makerere, we have a small kind of grew up from a program that was there when we were still being supported, where we had a relationship with the University of New South Wales. We had a one-year project of faculty support where we have lecturers from UNSW came up to offer some support in some courses where we didn't have strong enough faculty. But when that one-year project ended, the faculty for UNSW who were coming on there insisted on still having the students engage with each other, the finalist students in Australia and the finalist students in Uganda. So we established a virtual grand rounds. So even though the project ended, for now I think we're in the 4th year, where every year we have case presentations by students, Makerere students and UNSW students. and they learn from each other. So that for us has impacted greatly in that our presentation for our students has really improved when they first saw their colleagues from Australia presenting. But also at the same time, it's the students from Australia were quite impressed. I think there's also a stereotype of optometry training in Africa. So they were impressed that our students have actually see these students, they see patients and are able to write case studies. So which also led us as faculty to increase the demand of the students in presenting case studies. So which made them in line also become better clinicians, because they knew that they are going to have to write a case study and then probably present it, maybe just to, during the virtual grand rounds or in the annual CPD or scientific conferences. So something as simple as that, it's just we do it over Zoom. So there's not that much cost, but at least we still have this relationship that's ongoing without any financial implications on each end. So these kinds of things, I think, can also happen between the institutions in Sub-Saharan Africa, where now we can see how we can engage the students from different schools to see how we can build up that experience, because we don't have enough faculty to support that. But when they see the students of us, they can this can help up with our kind of clinical teaching as well. So yeah, I think we need to look more into such twinnings or collaborations, but also within, because now with from the research we've seen some schools are much older than others, but those that are starting up, I think the clinical level is still challenging. The clinical exposure is limited in some institutions. We are fortunate that we have a whole teaching hospital where we were eventually given a clinical space, and our students actually rotate through there and see patients in a hospital setting and a tertiary level hospital setting at that, as well as a vision center. So by the time they graduate and go out, they have had some real life experience. So there's those collaborations with other universities, but also to look for opportunities within the health services that are there. So Makerere is a public university. So we make sure that our students are trained well enough, because fortunately we have been able to create posts for optometrists in the public sector, and our students are going to be posted in the hospitals around the country. So we want to make sure that they have the strong clinical experience before we let them go out there to provide those services. So those are some of the examples that we have done to try and strengthen our kind of clinical experience due to our limited number of faculty and clinical support. As we engage in more and more health facilities, then we can see how we can enhance on that. That's
thank you, Dr. And I think in Kenya we need also to have a collaboration with the Uganda, Makerere. So I think we'll talk maybe after this. Then maybe I have read a little bit more about Daniel, and I realized that he has a system of, in terms of who the other people we can partner with. In particular, you maybe even some of the partnership that we can engage ourselves in, being that you have been at the help of the health system in Ghana. So that I will usher in Dr. to also give an essay who has been lifting the hand. Thank you. Karibu. Welcome, Dr. Daniel.
Thank you. I think, no, in terms of optometry education, we have to work collaboration and partnership with both local institutions and international institutions. From the regulators' point of view, in Ghana, our Optometry Association partners strongly with the regulatory body, and there are so many issues that have come onto our table, and we have had to discuss to find amicable solutions or how we can move forward as a country in terms of optometry practice. There are so many interventions that we have engaged the professional body as a regulator, because when you come to the field of optometry in Ghana, we have only 2 schools that are training optometrists. And for that matter, if we don't have a stronger with them, then when you are addressing issues and you don't consult or you don't collaborate, one may not be able to navigate around the issues very well. For instance, we have had discussions on how when it comes to even examining or giving license exam to our optometrists, how it has to be done. What exists now is a system where all of them sit for one licensing exam, which is practically written. We have had issues to discuss with the professional body to see how we can include some form of practical aspect into the examining or licensing of our professionals. And that way, we'll be able to add professional practice to the regulatory environment so that we can have a very robust optometry practice. When it comes to the area of seeking employment for optometrists in Ghana, our system works in various forms. It is especially when it comes to the public sector, it is the Ministry of Health that would eventually employ. But when it comes to payment for those who have been employed, it's also another ministry, which is the Ministry of Finance. One area that we partner with these government institutions is to make sure that to satisfy legal requirements where you cannot employ professionals who are not licensed, the government has to partner with the regulatory body so that we offer or provide them those who are in good standing, pass through our regulatory regimen, written the licensing exams, and pass and have their licenses. That is the way we go. We give these lists to the ministry, and the ministry can also partner with the Ministry of Finance to see for clearance. So when all these requirements are met, then there is employment that can be assigned. Currently, we are trying to also even look at how our optometry students would have a bit of their training when they are doing their internship. We are partnering with the association so that when it comes to where these students would go and have their assessment, we can all be sure that they are going to facilities where it meets all the requirements that can offer them the kind of training that we have. We have had,
Thank you, Dr.
where in Ghana, previously we have been using only the public health facilities when it comes to posting of interns to these facilities. We realized that there are quite a number of private facilities who also have the requisite environments to offer some kind of practical training for our optometry students. So we are having this collaboration with the private sector as well. And then by that, we'll be able to assess to see which of these private sectors possess what it takes to be able to offer this kind of training that we have. As a regulator, we also appreciate the immense contribution of our professional associations. So we are collaborating, one with the private sector, second with our professional bodies, so that we can have an intersection where our students will go and have their internship will be what it requires. So at the end of the day, when they come up, we'll be able to have competent professionals to offer quality services. So partnership, we in Ghana, we are trying to see where we can partner from the government side, from the private side, and also with the professional associations, so that together we can navigate around these issues that we have to move optometry practice forward in Ghana. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, and we have gotten a more insight into that. Perhaps maybe Dr. Anderson, you might give me only 2 minutes, and then I will give you a chance to speak. I've seen your hand. Perhaps maybe I just want within each person to give me, these 2 people to give me some of the insights concerning the student, the challenges the students have in terms of delivery, or when we as educators deliver all these education programs. So, and this one goes to one of the presidents will give us some of the insight in terms of students' challenges, and another minute goes to Pisaura to give us some of the things, because he has been working with the students for quite some time, for the long period that she has been in practice. So we give chance to Apele to give us some of the challenges the students feel they are experiencing during the us as educators when we deliver these optometry education program in Africa. Yes, Apele, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, sir. A warm greeting to everyone. My name is Aphelela Madigiza. I am a final year from the University of the Free State and the president of the African Federation of Optometry Students, which is a student-led organization that encompasses students across Africa. So I do see some of my colleagues there from Kenya as well. I want to first extend my gratitude for the invitation as on behalf of students across Africa. Thank you for the inclusion and the support. We are truly honored. And today I will just be the mouthpiece in sharing the student perspective on the said topic. So I believe that today's investment in the quality of the education is a future investment in producing competent optometrists that are equipped for the working world. Now, I'll start with the clinical aspect. There are multiple solutions that can assist in helping to strengthen our practical and clinical practice as students. And I think that we've had a lot of workshops in the said organization, shortly known as AFOS, where we hear the need of students asking that they would like to have more exposure to other clinical settings other than the private side, but also the public side, because that is where we actually see the dire need in our own communities and regions. And hence we are able to advocate as students that in the public facilities that we need more equipment in there, as even in my own experience here at school, I'm in the University of the Free State, we have the resources and we have the equipment to practice the theoretical side of what we learn in class. But when you get to a public facility, you get there, there's not only a lack of human resource, but then there's also a lack of technology and the equipment that we use to help the communities that are in the need. So I will just be echoing, I see my point also echo on the importance of collaborations, not only with the government, the local government, but also with non-governmental organizations that carry out such services, such as provision of medical services in our field of work, which is eye care. And also, I do believe that, and I encourage that institutions also allow students to open chapters from WASH International. They are student chapters, and you get a chapter in the school where there's going to be a set leadership led by the students, and it increases leadership skills as well, but also it exposes us in our own communities the need and the lack and the gap of eye care. So I do encourage that institutions open ASWASH chapters, and AFOS, we do help universities to open that, and other inland NGOs, non-governmental organizations that are carrying out the same medical outreaches. We can also partner up with them as well. As just last week, we went to the Eastern Cape, which is a province here in South Africa that is very much it's a rural province, to say the least. And the name of the organization is Baphakamisa, and we got to go there. And the organization itself had partnered up with the Department of Health of South Africa, and they were able to see the need and the lack of eye care and how people were showing up in numbers. But because we could not see everyone, the government officials said that, no, we will have to have another one in September. So there is a lot of opportunity for collaborations in terms of opening up students to experiences outside of the classroom with organizations. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Maybe just to round up, Saura, you can just round up in 1 minute.
Okay. Thank you so much. I'm Isaura Brito dos Santos. I'm actually the president of the Mozambican Optometrist Association. I was also the head of department for the past years of the only optometry school we have in Mozambique. And talking about this point, the just adding the information that my colleagues as well shared, is that in Mozambique, for example, the main challenge was at the beginning we had, as Professor Kovin Naidoo well said, we had a partnership, we had like financial support, but with the of the years, as the years were passing, we then started having challenges of maintenance of the equipment for the clinical practice at the optometry clinic at the university. And with time, we had to reinvent ourselves because that project was not more having funders to support. Like it was designed like that, and the national optometrists were now taking care of the teaching process and all. So the student, either the student and the lecturers as well, started having challenges regarding the practice and the equipment, as we did not have equipment working properly. But immediately, with the support of all the colleagues and university as well, new partnerships were made, and NGOs started supporting. We made collaboration, like we decided to open the clinic as a public and private hospitals, so that people pays as a very little fee, a small fee, in order to have more income and make it sustainable, because the sustainability is one of the issues as well. And as we did it in this way, the students started having more chances to practice, and we started as well having a little bit of funders to support the daily basis and at least the basic maintenance. And other changes that were made were like we expanded the internship posts. And for example, before was internship internship post was basically the optometry clinic at university, but then it became a must to do it as well at the regional hospital, that is the regional hospital of reference, and that does a lot of surgical procedures, sees a lot of patients. So it became a must, as well as it was added like the private sector internship as an obligation. So each student started having like these three sectors for internship, and it definitely improved their point of view, their experience, and and it allowed the school not to have like graded students only in one place and is looking only at one reality of patients, because the type of patients that come to an optometry school or to an optometry clinic are different from patients that go for an ophthalmology service where surgeries are done and the pre and post-op situation. So it definitely expanded. So as this started working, and we also got support from some institutions, some NGOs, in order to have new equipments and support in order to make it rentable, we as well included as a must the screenings. In our days, we had either the association and also the optometry, the only optometry school in Mozambique, University Luri, made partnerships in order to design the national refractive school screening, eye school screening. So there is now a protocol with the school screening in the country, and in this way, now students have the chance also to be part of the rotations of screenings, eye school screenings. So together with the lecture. So in addition to that, this is why we also, as the paper says, we also extended our curriculum plan in order to have to allow more working hours or more practical sessions to be received by students. So this was an improvement that they had.
That was an awesome. That's what was awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. But we just as a rejoinder on that, maybe Professor Tuani, when you look at all these challenges that maybe students are posting and all those things, do we have some tangible solutions or provisions that we can think of so that we can see if there's some more exposure in terms of WCO and WHO for us to get some of the solutions? Maybe Professor Tuani can just maybe give us just a 3-minute or 2-minute roadmap towards this.
Yes, I think there are solutions. Resource optimization through partnership is one of the things that we need to have. And we don't have to look outside of Africa. We have to look among ourselves. So gone are those times where we work in silos, and we have to work as Africans, institution of optometry, and this will build the education here in Africa. So we don't have to, I think it's a good thing that Trump is cutting on the funding so that Africans can come together, because listening to what everyone has been saying, we do have resources. Let us not work in silos. So I call on all the educators who are here online that let's form an African Forum of Educators so that we can share this knowledge. And also the regulatory bodies, whoever is part of the regulatory bodies, I think they can come up and form a strong African optometry regulatory body where they look at quality assurance also and accreditation. And also we have to have a standardized accreditation mechanism within Africa ourselves. So for me, the harmonization of the curriculum will also assist us here. And also to advocate for advocacy. Another thing that I wanted, which I haven't had, is that we really, as optometrists, especially those who are educators, optometry educators, we have to be advocates. Nobody will advocate for us. We have to be leaders in shaping the investment in the new schools and also in the infrastructure. We need more schools. We need more educators, and we have to grow our own timbers. We don't have to look anywhere. It has to start with us from within. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Tuane. That's wonderful. And I think I picked that up. We don't have to look outside of Africa. It has to come from us, and we have the expertise here. We just have to collaborate within institutions and people that we have and use the skill set there. Thank you for that quick summary. And I see Anderson's hands has been up. Anderson, do you want to just go? We'll have 2 minutes to end this section, and we'll have an exciting section coming after that.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Levi and the moderator. I hope I'm being audible enough. Okay. Professor Swane has just taken that off my mind, because I was saying that we are doing so much advocacy and turning into like a beggarly profession. A beggarly profession in the sense that we go to make people see, and people are not seeing it. And when they are not seeing it, you are the one telling government to do this, do that. But the advocacy, if its advocacy is strong enough, it is government that will come to you and say, we want to do this. Can you come and help us? So our advocacy at the national levels are not very strong enough, because government comes to some professions, some programs, and say, we want this. And when government comes to you, you will not be in the position to make the standards that you want. The second...
Yeah, so we're having network issues with Anderson. I guess he said that we just have to start taking some actions and steps. Yeah, look, I think it would be easier if you pop that on the chat, Anderson, because we can't, network is quite bad from your end. We can take that on board after this session. But look, thank you. I think Andrew has got some network issues that he's dropped off, but I'll just take it from here and make sure we can get this going. Yeah, look, thanks. And I think we'll have to move on to the next phase of this discussion. Thank you for the panel. This discussion goes into the next one, which is our breakout rooms. Those breakout rooms, we have these questions and everybody will have a voice to speak to them and be able to tell us what you think and what your preferred solutions will look like. We want to see where we can start acting on those suggestions. So CEPHII cannot bring that solution as a group. We want to work with you, with the group who are here, who are committed to optometry, to see what we can start to do, even these little steps to build those blocks that we can help to address one or two or even these three issues that we've identified from the publication that we have all spoken to it today. So Wanok will be the one in charge of that, and Wanok is going to tell us how this works, and we'll make sure that everybody can have a voice in different rooms. There'll be somebody recording that and coming back to feed to the sessions. And thank you, Wanok, if you're there. I'll leave this for you now.
Yeah, thank you so much, Levi, and thank you so much, Andrew, for chairing the previous session. Yeah, my name is Wanok. I'm a PhD researcher from the University of Edinburgh and an optometrist, proudly trained from Uganda, the Pearl of Africa. So in this breakout session, we shall be discussing the questions that we have on the screen right now. It's about how can we address the challenges identified in the study. And from all of you, if everyone has been paying attention, you'd realize that some of the solutions have been hinted on in the discussions that have been ongoing. So we shall take everyone into breakout rooms, and we shall have 4 breakout rooms. So we are talking about inadequate qualification of staff, of lecturers in optometric education, right? Is that what we are discussing?
Yes, that's right.
So I want to say that I happen to be the president of Association of Optometrists in Education of Nigeria. I have information about all the optometric institutions and as well as their staffing. So just like it was raised in the published article, we have come to realize that most of the lecturers, they do not really have the requisite qualifications. Apart from being optometrist OD, you must have your master's and your PhD. In the time past, it was difficult, but right now the awareness has come, because knowing fully well that you need your master's and PhD, especially your PhD, to get to the zenith of your career. So we'll be talking to the younger ones, and they have been taking cue. Most of them have enrolled into postgraduate programs like master's and PhD, and most of them are getting aware with the goings on in such areas to get themselves adequately fit to be called lecturers in teaching optometric courses in optometric institutions. So I would say that in terms of inadequately qualified academic staff, that area is being addressed, as most of our lecturers have been told the implication of such things, that if they don't develop themselves in the postgraduate programs like masters and PhD, they will remain stagnated, according to what we say in Nigeria. If you don't, and your publications will just be there, but you will not be elevated to the next level. So we are saying that it's either you move, get acquired additional degrees so as to be able to fit into the next level, or you remain grounded in where you are. So I want to personally say that that is being done, and that will also help in increasing our relevance as far as the optometric profession is concerned. So it is very, very important, and our lecturers, especially the younger ones, are embracing these opportunities, and most of them are enrolled in different postgraduate programs in the institution. Sometimes some schools you may not be able to get optometric postgraduate programs in optometry. So some can go in for master's PhD in macrobiology, pharmacognosy, genetics and all that. But their projects or thesis is usually tailored towards optometry so that it can now make them relevant in applying the knowledge they've acquired into the optometric profession. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much,
So,
Professor Naomi. Does anyone else like to share their experiences regarding inadequately qualified academic staff?
So, my name is still Andrew. I just want to speak something concerning East Africa. And in East Africa, we have had a lot of challenges. Then I can see my friend Abdallah Unja here is from Tanzania. And in Tanzania, they have they wanted to start even optometry school, and they are also having challenges even to get lecturers in terms of initiating the optometry school at degree level. And some of the challenges that we had encountered in our setup was having expatriates in Kenya. And most of the expatriates, they come for a very short period of time, then they leave because they look for greener pastures elsewhere. And once they leave, the department staggers in terms of how it is to develop. Thankfully, we have had a very good rapport working with other countries, like South Africa was really supported us in terms of sending even adjunct lecturers, and even Ghana and Nigeria was stepped in terms of making sure that some of the programs that are started stabilize. An aspect of curriculum itself in terms of accepted into the countries of regards, for example, like Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania, it has been also very difficult because the people who are pushing it are from outside the country, and even convincing the country that there's need for us to expand and to have this becomes a little bit problem for them to also lead to the end. So those are some of the challenges that we as the young countries that are starting these programs face a lot. And with the essence, like previously, in terms of collaborations or some of the sort, has really helped in terms of us strengthening. Up to now, we have now staff who are native of the specific countries. And now we have a problem in Tanzania that we need to address it because it's coming up, and the no lecturers who also need to support it to stand to the fullest. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Very good point about the expatriates who come, practice, then leave. That must be very difficult. Isora Brito dos Santos had her hand up first.
Yes, thank you. Yes, adding to what was said, is that we also face the same issue as our optometry school was based like a few years back. And the main thing was that we started then sending also PhD. But the main issue is that as we are sending people out, we are at the same time facing the lack of the ratio of professional student. That is the second point. So we are, yes, improving the level of the academic level of the lecturers, but at the same time, when we are sending them, we also face this issue, and it's there for years because a master will take, for example, 2 years, a PhD for 3, 4, or 5 years, and until now, there is no PhD lecturer. In optometry, there's no one in the country who has a PhD level. So we're still facing it because some of the people who were sent before, some of them don't want to return, and others are having challenges in finishing their degrees. So it's a double issue that we have. While we are trying to solve it, we also have this issue of student lecturer. Thank you.
Thanks so much. And the retention's also tricky, and we have that here as well. Daniel, I think?
Yes, yes. Thank you for the opportunity once again. I just want to talk briefly on the lack of regulation in optometry education and practice from the regulator's point of view, because I am the regulatory agency in Ghana. And I think that for the areas or sectors where we lack regulation, it is very, very critical that as an institution as yours, we see how we can collaborate to ensure there is enough regulation in optometry practice. Because regulation or regulators are supposed to ensure standards, enforce standards in terms of education and practice. So what kind of curriculum is used even in training optometrists? And these are very, very important things that regulators must be involved in ensuring that in terms of training, we adhere to specific standards. When it comes to even professional experience, how do we navigate around professionals when they have finished their school and they are in practice? It is the regulator that enforces some scope of practice for their work, and then also ensures that they conform to practice standards. Again, it is the regulator's responsibility to make sure CPDs are available for professionals to be able to continuously improve their knowledge, even before they come to the field of work, assessing them in terms of those who qualify to practice as optometrists. It is the role of the regulator. So when we don't have a regulation, or where regulations are not up to the standard that is required, it definitely has an implication on optometry training and practice. So it is important we look at these areas very, very well if we want to move our optometry practice and training in the Sub-Saharan Africa into context. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Regenda is next.
Yeah, thank you so much. I just wanted to quickly touch on the previous point. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay, great. About the role of expat optometrists. So I've been lucky enough to be trained by optometrists from the United States and other parts of the world in Nepal when optometry was very early stage and we didn't have enough faculty. So I do appreciate their role, although I understand that they are not there for the full development of the program. They might be there for a shorter time, but I think we should appreciate their help in developing optometry programs in earlier stage. And I later on went to work for Ban Holden Vision Institute in Eritrea and Malawi, and then later in Vietnam. So the purpose of these programs and bringing expertise from outside is to help capacity building in a gradual manner, because we don't want these programs to rely heavily on expertise, but capacity building doesn't happen overnight. So there's always a process, and I think with the limitations that the expats would leave the country one day, but they would certainly help the capacity building in that period. So I do appreciate their role, having been taught by them and then having been one of those who hopefully contributed to development of the program. But I also wanted to talk about that recognition, government recognition. I think my experience working in those setups has been that it very much depends on how much value we as a professionals can demonstrate to policymakers and government agencies. So one of the strategies we took in Vietnam was to do lots of public service kind of things when optometry wasn't part of the government healthcare professional list. And then through our service in terms of school screenings and eye health programs to vulnerable groups, we were kind of able to make case to the policymakers, and that's a constant advocacy. And there were a lot of still external leaders and members of optometry community globally who were there in Vietnam to make that case that optometry needs to be one of those core primary healthcare provider list. And then that eventually happened a few years ago. So I think it's all about showing what we can do as an optometrist in healthcare system, and making case to the policymakers. So again, I do still want to stress that while many countries who are in that early stage of optometry program development, for example, in Eritrea, they do need external support, but ultimately the purpose should be to develop capacity from inside, like homegrown faculty members. Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's about to close the breakout rooms. If Bernadine and Abdullah want to quickly mention their thoughts, and then they're going to close soon.
Oh, yeah. So I just wanted to add, because the time is almost closing, the fact of including those in private sector, to solve the problem of staff to student ratio. There are so many optometrists in the private sector. If the universities can find way of integrating the private sector optometrists to be part of the training of the students, that's one. Then two, harmonization of curriculum. We have the different regulatory bodies. If they begin now to have meetings and, think of how to harmonize the training. Like we have the regulatory person for Ghana here, the one for Nigeria and other African countries. And they now decide to start meeting now to collaborate and see how to harmonize this training. And then there will be exchange, program within Africa. That way it's easier and we're able to collaborate better. Thank you.
Yeah. So please, how are we going about it? Are we asking everyone? We pick one question and everybody comments on
Yes, please. Yeah.
Okay.
And somebody please record. If there is, you can, because I'm recording the whole thing. Somebody can record in phone and send it to Levi or any of us. That would be great.
Yes.
So I'll repeat the question.
Yes. So I am recording with a phone here. I'm here to be given permission to record on the system. So I'm doing that with the phone here.
So let me see. I can copy from the PowerPoint. The questions are here. I have put it in the chat and it's also displayed in the PowerPoint.
Yeah. So are we supposed to react and make our inputs?
Sorry, Mohammed, what is your question?
So I say, are we supposed to react and take on it, or?
See, I'm the library person. I have no idea about the topic. So what you do is, my understanding is that you have a discussion of these three questions and record your answer or your discussion points and share it. Have a discussion among yourselves. Somebody can record that and then you can share the summary.
One of you're going to moderate this room, right?
Yes, and I'm just checking to make sure everything is okay in this.
Yes,
there are three questions.
Three questions.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so we are set. So maybe you can go ahead.
Okay, so I was here to check with another room, but it's okay. So the first question is to see whether you have any solutions to the inadequately qualified academic staff, low staff to student ratios, and then lack of government recognition and regulation. Any thoughts to that?
Yeah, that's all. My voice is clear now. I'm having some network challenges, but if anyone is hearing me, I can quickly say something. for the Inland Delta? Okay, in order to create qualified staff, I think we can leverage on hybrid technology where we can have experts teaching the students from anywhere in the country. It's been practiced in some professions and it's very, very helpful. Low staff to student ratio can also be solved. And another aspect is to engage clinicians, the practicing optometrists to be engaged in part-time to assist in the workload at the various institutions. And the lack of competitive competition has to do with advocacy by the regulators and professional bodies to make government see the need. You know, we are in a unique position where what we do is also done by other sister professions. So we need to really provide something that is unique enough for us that we can offer and make the government to see that need to have us. Like we have taught to make that lead profession where we always beg for recognition, but I believe the kind of advocacy we can take on will be such that government will come to us and say, what do we want to do to help the situation? And that is also aligning our research to global agenda. Today, the global world is talking about the climate and the digital economy. So our research should also focus on that because that's where the funding will come from. We're so traditionalistic in the sense that we keep on talking the same thing over and over. So we should explore new area, diversify. And I think in that way, we'll be able to get the government listen to us and government funded to support the program. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Dr. Anderson, for those elaborative insights here. Any thoughts on any other area that anyone would like to add?
May I come, please, Mohammed?
Yes.
Yes. I'm an optometrist from Somalia, and I would like to share some notes. So for the first and the second question, actually, we can incorporate the optometry education in our curriculum, in our universities, in our schools, and we should also do awareness about this specialty. Like what I noticed, like optometry education is, it's not, the students, they are not aware of the existence of optometry education. They are more focused with low vision, contact lens, and other specialties, but education is important. And most of the students, they lack aware of it. Secondly, I think if we had schools in Africa itself offering optometry education courses, master's or PhD, those people actually could bring some research innovations, research information or data as they doing their dissertation or thesis about the education status in Africa. Otherwise, coming up with new strategies, problem solving. Actually, if we have a school offering masters in or PhD in optometry education, it will solve number one and number two problems. So about the third, the lack of the government recognition and regulation. Actually, in Somalia right now, the government, what I see like optometrists in Somalia, they are very active, and when you are active in your country, you bring attention to your people. So they are in Somalia. We have an optometry association. They starting doing seminars, webinars. Those things bring attention to the government and to the public themselves, and will provoke the government to do, like such as in cataract awareness or glaucoma awareness, when optometrists the primary care eye care health that provide this service. So with this, I conclude my suggestion. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Mohammed. That's wonderful insights. Yeah.
Okay. May I make some contribution also?
Sure, so
Yes. So I believe that regarding inadequate qualified academic staff, I think we should be deliberate on mentorship. We can focus on specific students who have unique capabilities and are interested in advancing their education and probably coming back into academia. My interaction with our students show that there are some who have the interest, but they just do not know how to go about their whole thing. And so if we are deliberate about mentorship, then we are able to identify specific people who are one, motivated, and two, who have the ability to use the resources that they are provided with. And so we should be deliberate on mentorship and identify unique students with abilities that can help with graduate education, so that when they are done, they are motivated to come back and to support. And I think that that fits into the second point, the low staff-student ratio. If we are deliberate about encouraging students to go into graduate education and then coming back to help, automatically we are dealing with the second issue. Now, on the third point or the third question, I think that optometrists should share data, especially for colleagues in private facilities. Now, for some reason, it's hard to get optometrists giving information about things like spectacle coverage, how many patients they see in a day. And so if you go to the government to make a case, the next thing you are asked is, what is your evidence? But unfortunately, private practitioners are not ready to share information or share any data on clinicians, on patients. Government, at least from Ghana, doesn't have a robust system to gather information that is relevant to optometry practice. And if we go this way, we may be able to do the advocacy, but we will not have adequate evidence to back up our points. And so we should be able to share the data we have, our information. We see patients, what cases are we seeing in our clinics? How are we attending to these patients? What interventions are we giving? That will extend into expressing the direct impact we make on society. And when we are able to express the impact we make on society, then government will now have interest. Okay. The other thing is that we should also focus in our researches, we should focus on optometry related issues. For instance, now myopia is a big issue, especially in Asia. But in Africa, it appears to be a matter that is not prioritized. I did a few interviews with key eye health directors, and there is a common thing. Myopia is not a priority disease or a priority problem. But we know it is a problem, and the only thing is that we have not done enough to bring out the information around conditions that relate to optometry. And so governments do not have any reason to agree to our comment and also to support. So that's my contribution.
Thank you so much, Sylvester, for that. Yeah, thank you so much, Badra, for also helping with this breakout room. Yeah.
So how do I get the chat, Vanok? You will take the chat.
I've taken a screenshot here. I've taken a screenshot of the chat.
Yeah,
So,
and then you got the recording because we captured everything, right?
yeah, the recording, yeah, it's Sylvester who has it, so should be.
Oh, great. Yeah, because I can't do it cloud. Yeah, that's great.
Good. I have it here, so I will share with Levi.
What is your question?
I said I wasn't what's for
As a on the library person, I have no about the topic. So what you do is, my understanding is that you have a discussion of these three questions and record your you answer or your discussion points and share it. Have a discussion on verses. Somebody can record that, and then you can share the summary article.
Well, look, you're going to address this, right? Is it so this?
Yeah, it's okay. It's there.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you can go ahead.
Okay, so I was yet to check with another room, but it's okay. So the first also is to see whether you have any solutions to the inadequately qualified academic staff, lost staff to student pressures, and then lack of government recognition and regulation. Any thoughts to that?
Yeah, that's how she's, my voice is clear now. I'm having some network challenges, but if anyone is hearing me, I can quickly say something. For the internet data. Okay, in order to create qualified staff, I think we can leverage on hybrid technology, where we can have experts teaching the students from anywhere in the country. It's being practiced in some professions, and it's very, very expert. Those staff to student ratio can also be solved. And another aspect is we engage clinicians, the practicing optometrists to be engaging part-time in to assist in the work to various institutions. And the lack of we do is also done by other sister professions. So we need to really provide something that is unique enough for us that we can offer and make the government to see that need to have us. Like, we have turned to beggarly profession where we always beg for recognition. But I believe the kind of advocacy we can think on will be such that government will come to us and say, what do we want us to do to help this situation? And that is also aligning our research to global agenda. Today, the global world is talking about the climate and the digital economy. So our research should also focus on that, because that's where the funding will come from. We're so traditionalistic in the sense that we keep on talking the same thing over and over. So we should explore new area, diversify. And I think in that way, we'll be able to get the government listen to us and break out funding to support the program. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Anderson, for those elaborative insights here. Any thoughts on any other area that anyone would like to add?
May I come, please?
Mohammed. Yes, please.
Yes. I'm an optometrist from Somalia, and I would like to share some notes. So for the first and the second question, actually, I can, we can do, we can incorporate the optometry education in our curriculum, in our universities, in our schools, and we should also do awareness about this specialty. Like what I noticed, like optometry education is, it's not, the students, they are not aware of the existence of optometry education. They are more focused with low vision, contact lens, and other specialties, but education is important. And most of the students, they lack aware of it. Secondly, we have, I think if we had schools in Africa itself offering optometry education courses, a masteral or PhD, those people actually could bring some research innovations, research information or data as they doing their dissertation or thesis about the education status in Africa. Otherwise, if you stick it is school offering masters or PhD in poetry education, it will solve number one and number two problems. So about the third, the lack of the government education and regulation. Actually, use Somalia right now. Our government, what I see like optometry, optometrists in Somalia, they are very active, and when you are active in your country, you bring attention to your people. So they are in Somalia. We have an optometry association. They starting doing seminars, webinars. Those things bring attention to the government and to the public themselves, and will provoke the government to do like such as awareness or glaucoma awareness when optometry is the primary care, eye care health that provide this service. So with this, I conclude my suggestion. Thank you so much.
Wonderful insight. I make some contribution also. So let's just first of all say. Yes, so I believe that regarding inadequate qualified academic staff, I think we should deliberate on mentorship. We can focus on specific students who have unique capabilities and are interested in advancing their education
and probably coming back into academia. My interaction with our students show that there are some who have the interest, but they just do not know how to go about their both. And so if we are deliberate about mentorship, then we are able to identify specific people who are one motivated, and two who have the ability. That can motivate you to come back and use support. Then I think that that fits into the second point, the low staff-student ratio. If we are deliberate about encouraging students to go into graduate education and then coming back to job, automatically we are dealing with the second issue. Now, on the third point, for the third question, I think that optometrists should share data, especially for police in private facilities. Now, I get optometrists giving information about things like spectacle coverage, how many patients they see in a day. As yet they do what the government make the case. The next thing you are asked is, what is your evidence? And unfortunately, private practitioners are not ready to share information or share any data on clinicians, on patients. Governments, at least from Ghana, doesn't have a robust system to gather information that is relevant for optometry practice. And if we go this way, we may be able to do the advocacy, but we will not have adequate evidence. But and so we should be able to share the data maker or teach we see patients. What cases are we seeing in our clinic? How are we attending these patients? What interventions are we giving? That will expect it is rise to the error you have to make to society. And when we are able to express the impact we make on society, the government will have interest. Okay. The other thing is that we should also focus in our researches, focus on documentary-related issues. For instance, now Libya is a big issue, especially the issue. But in Africa, it appears to be a matter that is not prioritized. I did a few interviews with key eye health directors, and there is a common thing. Myopia is not a priority disease or a priority problem. But we know it is a problem. And the only thing is that we have not done enough bring out information around conditions that relate to optometry. And so governments do not have any reason to agree to our comments and also to support. So that's my contribution.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Sylvester, for that. Yeah, thank you so much, Badra, for also helping with this breakout room. Yeah.
So how do I get the chat, Manok? You will take the chat?
I've taken a screenshot. Yeah, I've taken a screenshot of the chat.
Yeah.
So,
And then you got the recording because we captured it, right?
yeah, the recording, yeah, it's Sylvester who has it, so should.
Oh, great. Because I can't really plug. Yeah, that's great. Thank you.
I have it here, so I'll share with Levi.
Recording in progress.
Thank you. Yeah, welcome back. Yeah, the 15 minutes are fast spent. I was moving in the different rooms, and then when I was about to reach the last room, I had to stop in one. So, yeah, I was also enjoying one of the discussions in one of the rooms. So yeah, I think we've spent a lot of time already, but I'll spend only 3 minutes trying to put the things together, and then I'll hand over to Levi to take on with the rest of the session. So I shall just give a few seconds for the rest who are still in the rooms to come back.
What is that?
Sorry, Sylvester, please. Yeah, thank you. Yeah. All right, thank you so much, everyone, and thank you for everyone who participated. I know the 15 minutes are not really enough for most of us who are really passionate about the profession, as I believe everyone is on this platform. We need like a full day to discuss this, but the 15 minutes are just enough for us to get a just highlights of what we need to include. And thank you all for your cooperation. So what we shall do, I'll just give, since we're tight on time, 1 minute to every group to just give us a brief highlight before we call it a day in this particular session. So I'll start with room 1, which had here a few people I know who would like to represent room 1. In just 1 minute, please. Let's try to stick to time. Yeah, any feedback from room 1? The room 1 had, I don't want to call out all the names. Okay. All right. Okay, just a quick one, just so that we don't really spend a lot of time on this one. Yeah, Andrew, you were in room 1. Can you just give us a brief update in just 1 minute?
Recording in progress.
So in room 1, we had highlights in terms of one of the first one here was staffing, and realized that in most of the optometry schools that are upcoming, they have inadequate and are always supported by external expatriates who end up leaving the country again back into the. One of the things that with some of the solutions we offered was supporting the locals to go have the post-day training and come back to. Another aspect that we also had was regulations and the student staff ratio. Student staff ratio still plays a role in terms of still inadequate and qualified academic. And one of the solutions that we were suggesting, one of the professors suggested was that we do collaboration between those people who are in industry and those people who are in the institution. Also, we can do what we call our own internal collaborations with maybe like adjunct lecturers to support the growth of these institution, and also offer some of the scholarships within ourselves.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much, Andrew, for sharing the highlights from room 1. That is just a synopsis. There is a lot that was discussed that we shall try to digest later. Okay, moving on to room 2, and if they nominated anyone or room 2.
With the presentation for room 2, as I told you, I think the better designated wasn't in the room. Yes, I think we were asked to discuss how to address the challenges of adequately train our power stuff to address the staff-student ratio and the whole number of things. So what I'll do, I'll just itemize what we mentioned, and then we can begin to deliberate on that subsequently. For example, one we talked about the regulators, that come to our program should be looking not just at the equipment, but match equipment with the number of students and with the number of staff to be able to see whether that program can continue on running. And they also talked about clinicians can be encouraged to offer part-time teaching or be appointed as adjunct or honorary staff. And for that to happen, I also suggested that clinicians who are being in clinical practice may not have the requisite skills to provide educational concepts, so they can be giving top-up training, maybe a workshop on how to organize clinical practice into training, so that they'll be able to do that quite effectively. And in terms of quality staff, we looked at that. Somebody quite said that some PG schools, actually in Nigeria, may not be encouraging graduate training in optometry, and so that needs to be addressed. We'll find a way to address that. And then another issue that came up was salary. Because I think one of the presenters earlier, the panelists earlier, talked about the Japanese people move from Africa to the West and they don't come back. It's because of salary, work environment, and the infrastructure they have to work with. So solution to address that is for PhD programs, instead of students moving from Africa to the West to do PhD program, and they come back. Collaborate between Africa and universities to say, look, we're going to try this circuit to part of it. Yeah, say in the UK or in US and Australia, and they go to any part in your country, so that way you do to go bank. Because the reason is so, and then the other key was to the Africa US's do mentorship. Young people, we say, I don't know.
Thank you so much for all that. Yeah, then room 3, Sylvester, you have 1 minute to just summarize that for us.
Yeah,
Some of the key things we mentioned are one, to leverage on hybrid technology and then engage clinicians. And we also mentioned advocacy by regulators and then professional organizations. And we also say we should be dedicated about our mentorship and also share our data to use as evidence to back the case we make. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much, Sylvester, for that. And then moving on to the last room, that is room 4. Did you nominate anyone to say a word or two from room 4 in 60 seconds? Or
I think Edith can give the feedback. Edith?
yeah, thank you, Edith. Yeah.
Well, I just want to add to the discussion that is going on concerning how to address and challenge due to inadequate staffing. I think one of the address I want to give is concerning how to offer regular continuing education program for the educators, because in Nigeria, I know that most of the optometric educators, they lack, there is lack of regular continuing education program there, and this affects optometry, but they are the topic that actually impact optometry education to these students. Is need to offer regular continuing education to enhance their teaching skill and to also to enhance their clinical skill. Okay. And I also want to address a problem of the students themselves. They need to be offered scholarship and funding opportunity, because most of them lack scholarship, and scholarship is at the center to boost their academic career. So students should be offered scholarship and funding opportunities to continue with their optometric program, because some of them drop out. I appreciate the parents of technology where so that most of them lack the funding to continue with their program, and they drop out of school. So scholarship and funding opportunities should be encouraged within the students. And I think I think both the optometry educators and the students who receive the optometry education, both should be they should be enhanced. So there should be enhancement in their skills in their education. Yes, thank you very much. Hello?
You were supposed to be chairing, now you're...
Oh, okay. Necessary.
I think what you have done, you have answered 2 of the questions. And this third question, I don't know what is the third question.
The third question, I don't know. I didn't get the third question from one of us. I know they said something about how it's curriculum and regulation, I think. Yes,
okay. Although how will the government something recognize optometry and support it? Is that the one?
Somebody else. I think somebody else. Yeah.
I think that is the one on recognition by the government to support the training of optometry students.
Okay, so I'm Enyam. I'm speaking from Ghana. I'm not too sure about the network, so my video is off for now. but okay. Yes. So I'm not also quite sure. I wanted to get a better understanding of the question. I was trying to move from a car into the lab when the questions were posted. So if I could get the question again, I'm happy to try and answer it.
The first one is how to address the inadequate qualified optometrist staff. The second one is about the student staff ratio. And I think the third one has to do with the regulatory. I'm not sure myself. Something about the government. Okay.
Not about traditions and that's one. An intersection between academic and professional. Okay, I'll take the first two. So in the rest of Kipus Ghana, we are trialing a few things. Okay, so we recognize the need for more staff. We have a partnership with Kali University where we working at upskilling our staff. So since about 2020, we've had our staff. They share out courses. So we have those capacity.
Can't hear you.
Do this for other people in Africa. So
Okay. Is it possible if ever you can write your response on the chat, because it seems as though you are the very low bandwidth. Yes. Can you write your response on the chat? So
can this still
no. We can't. So may you just write your response on the chat so that we can all see it? Okay. I think we can also have responses of, from other people. I think we have Doreen. Doreen was... Got only 5 minutes left. Doreen Edward, Dr. Eskanda, any contribution?
Tawani, can I say something now? Hold on, I'm not.
Yes.
Yes, not to lose more time. Yeah, I think I'm from Bosch International, and I'm related to several of you because of that. I'm very interested in this discussion. I think in terms of reaching out governments and doing more effective advocacy, everything ties up also to how we gather the evidence, right? And to demonstrate the needs and the scope of what optometry can do and could do better if supported. So I think I take your point, Tuwani, about we can obviously do things within our capacities, within our networks in Africa. We are small, but we are willing to partner with you guys to, for instance, support this community outreach work and small research. But what we need, from from the other side is also this being proactive and being responsive. You know, sometimes it takes a lot of time to chase people around, and not the students. I must say the students are really good. They chase me around, but whenever we try to consolidate some work, it would be good to have a more coordinated approach, and perhaps this network or this coalition or this group of faculty or educators could help identify the priorities, and then we can definitely work together. But I think you need to have a body of evidence, well, a good structured and research evidence on, what you want your governments. Different governments have different priorities, but, little by little, I think we should be able of building the case. So, yeah, thank you. I think others are ready now.
Thank you, Maria. Aphelele?
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you so much for the opportunity. And I think Dr. Maria was just making the point that students are now the ones following such organizations, because we do see the need. And as students, we're trying to also be proactive. I am part of the AFOS, which is an organization that encompasses and unites students across Africa. And I think that just this year alone, we're able to open an S4 chapter, and they were able to go to outreaches, and there you learn something that you will never learn in a classroom setting. You learn that sometimes the ideal VA that you always go for in a setting such as our clinical setting is not attainable sometimes because of patients with cataracts that are not fully grown, but still you get an improved VA. So I am in talks with the University of KwaZulu-Natal, and I hope also they we open S-washes in South Africa, all the institutions, so that we can form a network and a collaboration and see how we can further advocate. Because as I mentioned, I went to an outreach, and the Department of Health, which is our national government, was a part of it, and they saw that this is an opportunity for even a lifelong partnership with the organization. So I thank you so much, Dr. Maria, for your support and listening to us as students. And I thank you for the invite also in the discussion.
Thank you. Technology integrators, as part of upscaling of staff, and also in terms of the high student staff ratio. How do we see technology, integrating technology in our learning, where in our teaching? Can we be able to leverage mobile technology for training and also for clinical simulations? There are different learning management systems. So is it possible to also have online platforms where students from Nigeria can also be in the same class with students from South Africa, from Ghana, and also teleeducation to reach students in some of the most remote areas? What do you all think about technology integrators?
Oh, you please, that it please.
So in room one, we had highlights in terms of one of the first one was staffing, and we realized that in most of the optometry schools that are upcoming, they have inadequate and are only supported by external expatriates who end up leaving and leaving the country again back into the. One of the things that some of the solutions we offered was supporting the locals to go have the post-grad training and come back to it. Another aspect that we also had was the regulations and the student staff ratio. Student staff ratio still plays a role in terms of still inadequate and qualified academic. And one of the solutions that we were suggesting, one of the professors suggested was like we do collaboration between those people who are in industry and those people who are in the institution. And also we can do what you call our own internal collaborations with maybe have like adjunct lecturers to support the growth of these institutions, and also offer some of the scholarships within ourselves. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much, Andrew, for sharing the highlights from room one. That is just a synopsis. There is a lot that was discussed that, yeah, we shall try to digest later. Okay, moving on to room two. And if they nominated anyone, or yeah, room two.
The presentation for room two, as I took the note, I think the person that was designated wasn't in the room. Yes, I think we were asked to discuss how to address the challenges of adequately trained manpower in terms of to address the staff-student ratio, and a whole number of things came out. So what I'll do, I'll just itemize what we mentioned, and then we can begin to deliberate on that subsequently. For example, one, we talked about that regulators, that come to our credit program should be looking not just at the equipment, but match equipment with the number of students and with the number of staff to be able to see whether that program can continue on running. And they also talked about clinicians can be encouraged to offer part-time teaching or be appointed as adjunct or honorary staff. And for that to happen, I also suggested that clinicians who are being in clinical practice may not have the requisite skills to provide educational concept, so they can be giving top-up training, maybe workshop on how to organize clinical practice into training so that they'll be able to do that quite effectively. And in terms of quality staff, we looked at that somebody quite said that some PG schools, actually in Nigeria, may not be encouraging graduate training in optometry, and so that needs to be addressed. We'll find a way to address that. And then another issue that came up was salary. And, because I think one of the presenters earlier, the panelists earlier, talked about the Japas Sijoipo move from Africa to the West and they don't come back because of salary, work environment, and the infrastructure they have to work with. And so a suggestion to address that is for PhD programs, instead of students moving from Africa to the West to do full PhD program and they hardly will come back, for a collaboration between African university and Western universities to say, look, we're going to train PhD, but it will be more like a split site. You do part of it here in, say, in the UK or in US or in Australia, and then go do the remaining part in your country, so that way you go to go back and continue. So, and then the other thing was
thank you. Yeah, thank you, Dr.
Yeah, training African universities to do mentorship for younger people to do research.
Yeah.
I think that's what Jesus covered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you so much, Godwin, for that. Yeah, and then room three, Sylvester, you have 1 minute to just summarize that for us.
Yeah. Yes.
okay.
So, some of the key things we mentioned are one, to leverage on hybrid technology, and then engage clinicians. And we also mentioned advocacy by regulators and then professional organizations. And we also say we should be deliberate about our mentorship and also share our data to use as evidence to back the case we make. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much, Sylvester, for that. And then moving on to the last room, that is room 4. Did you nominate anyone to say a word or two from room 4 in 60 seconds? Or
I think Edith can give the feedback. Edith?
yeah, thank you, Edith. Yeah. Sorry, Edith, you're muted if you're saying something. Yes, Edith, here. Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, thank you for giving me the opportunity to moderate room 4. From what we discussed, we talked about how to address inadequate staffing, and one of our the answer says that we should try and encourage regular continuing education program for practicing optometrists because it will enhance help to enhance optometry education. And also talked about scholarship, offering scholarship and funding opportunity for our optometry students. And someone talked about there's need for advocacy too by regulatory bodies and optometry organizations to enhance optometry program. Well, thank you. That's so far.
Thank you. Yeah.
Paul. Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, thank you so much, Dr. Edith, for summarizing for us the information from Room 4. So that brings us to the tail end of this session that was focused on the breakout rooms, identifying some of the potential solutions to the problems. But let's always remember that this shouldn't be the last time we're talking about these solutions. We should continue doing it even outside this meeting to just try to see how best we can continue strengthening the profession on our continent. So thank you so much for giving me this opportunity, CEPHII. And then back to you, Levi, for the next session.
Yeah, look, thank you everybody for your participation. This is really great. It's great because in some places in Africa, this is quite very early in the morning. So for people to wake up and sit on here for 2 hours or slightly less, it's a show that we really want to be part of this development. And optometry is something that we're all proud of, That's my background. That's where I'm coming from. That's what I dream of each day. So I think it's real to see that passion shine through today. Look, thank you for all the contributions you made today are important to us because at CEPHII, it's not one individual, it's the entire African region that we represent. We have people from different countries who are part of that group. In CEPHII, we have subgroups who are working on different projects. You don't have to be a core member of CEPHII to be part of CEPHII. So CEPHII has got people doing research in mental health, in optometry education, in community services, in community engagement, partnership with groups. We're doing a lot in that group through different arms. That's where collaboration is important to us. So all I hear today is collaboration, networking, advocacy. And we have the skill set within our set, but can we use individual skill set to improve different regions? So I think that shows that we really can change a lot of things within ourselves without having to call up people outside of our region. So I think that's something that CEPHII will take in on board from here onwards. So the next step for us is to catch up as CEPHII group, to look at all the discussions you've offered today. We have to dissect them and look at what next do we do, who do we bring on board, who is interested in working with us to start implementing small changes. We believe that those suggestions you've given are important, and some of those suggestions, we can start building those blocks today. We don't need to wait till tomorrow. So we'll sit back and look at them and say, okay, what is tangible here that we can start implementing? You may get an email from CEPHII asking if you want to volunteer to be part of the solution. And I do urge you to think about that. Be very proactive. See how you can coordinate and collaborate with us. So if those emails come, please raise up your hands for those who are here, who see their contribution to what they can change in their region. We want you to be part of that group. So we want to start making those groups after this. And we don't want to wait for too long. You get those emails within the end of the week. And please raise your hands up because we want to start acting on some of the things that we can start doing today. And there are people here who have partnership with WHO, with VOSH International. I can see Maria here. She's taking notes. VOSH has been it's an integral part of what we do in the student group. They're already changing the way students perceive optometry from the African region, seeing the connection globally. So with that group, we can change things a lot in the grassroots of optometry to be able to have practitioners who come out as quality and want to do the right thing. So I think we really want to change things from here onwards. So please, those emails will come through. Feel free to volunteer. I will make sure that we'll bring everybody together in a way that we can start making changes. So I do want to see where this goes from here. Writing papers are part of the things that CEPHII does. From these discussions, we want to produce a manuscript. So we want the world to know that this discussion happened and this led to a production like this. So people can read about this in future and take similar steps maybe to do changes as well in other areas of optometry. It may not just be education. It could be in human resource. It could be in community engagement. It could be in advocacy. But this group and the way we brought this together is a process on its own that we really want to describe for other people to also emulate where they have difficulties like that. So we'll be writing those papers, and you'll be invited as well if you want to be part of the co-authorship. We just want to make sure that everybody's carried along. Nobody's going to force you to do anything. We want people who have the time and skill set to be able to partner with us and deliver these things as well. So I do want to say a big thank you to everybody who had joined. I won't stop this by if I don't thank the WSU team. In Australia, working beyond 5 p.m. is unusual. So after hours is expensive. So people to sit here and stay after 5 p.m. and be part of this group is gold to us. So we appreciate your team, Emma, Badra, Jeff, Lily Collison, all the group that put this together, working with us every week, meeting, sending emails to the speakers. I do thank you guys for that support you've always given to us when we call upon you to help. Now, the student group is important. Lily and the Air Force members who have really taken time to see optometry as their own. They've taken it by the board. They've gone out in the community doing screening, devoting their time and energy to it, arranging the student body to make sure that they have a representation today. I thank you guys for the things you've done to make sure that student body is carried along across the globe. Now, there's a group of CEPHII who are working on our IT team. They are media team. They do the promotion of these meetings. They advertise these groups on Facebook. They create a LinkedIn page. They work on our website. It's led by Doreen and Sylvester. There's Philip, and there are three of them. They're all here today too. They've worked every single day to make sure that this event holds the way it is today. So I thank you guys for your commitment and time to this event. So I'm very grateful for everybody who has joined, all the association heads, the professional regulatory bodies. Pastor Percy was in China. He had to send his voice message because he missed this a lot. And I could see Pastor Daniel from Ghana, who made that time to be able to communicate to us, taking this back to their own institution to see how they can start making little changes. So I do thank you guys all. Anderson, he joined the Nigerian Optometry Association president and other groups as well who have representations here. So we are really grateful for the time you made to be here. I will hand this over to Professor Kovin now to then round up this section, and that should be it for today.
Thank you, Levi. I was asked to summarize the key outcomes, but because of time, and I'm mindful, I want to be asked to be respectful of people's time. I'm just going to identify the major themes and talk a little about that, and then we can take some of this forward in our minutes. So the first thing, I think we all agree that we have inadequately trained, low staff to student ratio, recognition and regulation is a problem. Those are the three major themes that came out from the study as well, and it's been followed here. The first point I want to say is the first issue we need to address is the Africanization of our education, and that has come across clearly in terms of how we relate to our integrate into national systems, how relevant we are. We need to look at how technology can make sure that we serve the majority of the people in our countries, and that our perspective in optometry in Africa has to be very different, and education has to support that. And that came out in some of the group discussions as well about how do we work within our countries. Secondly, the other theme I think is everyone's a researcher. I think that we've identified the deficit in data, and the way to overcome that is that every one of us has to look at how in a simple way we can actually contribute to the data generation, but also the integration of that data into our policy and advocacy efforts as we grow our profession, as well as the employment efforts, when we're trying to get our students employed within public sector, etc. Partnership came up as a big issue here. Intra-partnership was a strong theme. That means within the continent, institutions sharing, working with each other, and looking at things like grand rounds, etc., that in current partnerships, how that can be brought into. The whole public sector integration was a theme. We need to prepare our students for this role, and the question of internship was also raised. Private sector collaboration is something we need to look at and see if that can support the growth of optometry education and what we can learn from there. Tech the future is the other thing. It's a strong theme, and we should be looking at how technology can support our education, but how technology can support also the creation of access on the continent. Students, our future is the other theme, and it's great to see the student representative engagement and so conversing so articulately as well. And we know that they can contribute both at the level, we should support internships to create that skills as well as research. But we should be addressing about what that student future trajectory is going to be on the continent, because there are countries where our students are not very positive about their future. Sustainability was also the theme, and I think we heard about income generation in clinics, investment in staff and postgraduates. We heard about advocacy, and we heard about continuing education. That is all about creating a sustainable profession. And that's all for now I wanted to raise. And I think it was an excellent discussion, and thank you, everyone. And finally, just to remind you that this study is now gone global, and we should be proud as Africans that we are taking a study out of Africa and now making it a global study. We are often the recipients, and I always say people will only respect you when you are the generators of knowledge, not the recipients of knowledge. And in that respect, I think this study going global is important. I call upon you to respond again to that study, because you will be getting information. But secondly, those of you who are outside the continent, I call upon you to engage with the study so that we see the value, the information we collected today can be collected for the globe, and it will be something that Africa has contributed. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Kovin, for that wonderful summary. And on that note, we want to say thank you, big thank you to everybody who has joined. And from wherever you've joined, please do take this back to your community, because this discussion doesn't end here. It should continue in our different spaces, in our associations, in our universities, and let's all work together to improve optometry education in Africa. Thank you, guys, and God bless everyone. Bye.